call this meeting to order. Record Joe at 6:30, and let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Crave here.
Bonnie here.
Schneider here.
Dolphin here.
Cummings here.
Yours here.
I do have in front of me proper verification of meeting notices being posted. Brings us right into the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
No, just a clarification, outdoor master site plan doesn't necessarily need to be an action item. I just have been putting that on there in case the board wants to take a direction on that, just so you had that option, but there's no real recommendation for tonight. And then the multicultural night obviously was Monday, so hopefully you had a chance to see that and knew about it before the event, but now we're past it, so.
Okay.
I will so move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Mr. Crave, seconded by Ms. Kwame to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 voice vote. Brings us right into the minutes from the regular meeting from April 10th, the open session. Is there any changes, corrections, etc. noted here?
I'll move to present those minutes, I'll move to approve those minutes as presented.
Okay, I've got a motion by Ms. Kwame, seconded by Ms. Cummings to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Brings us to the action of approving the minutes from the regular meeting on April 10th in the closed session. Any noted changes, corrections here?
I will so move for approval.
Cummings will second.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor by Mr. Craig, seconded by Ms. Cummings to approve meetings at notes, the minutes as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries in a 7-0 vote. Brings us to the action of the minutes from the reorganizational meeting of April 22nd. Any noted changes, corrections here?
I will move for approval.
Cummings will second.
Motion by Mr. Craig, seconded by Ms. Cummings to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries in a 7-0 vote. Rolling right along here, we'll go to board reports, and I will turn over the floor to Mateo Cephalou.
So a lot has happened, and a lot will continue to happen for about the next 2 weeks, and then everything pretty much just stops happening. So AP testing started this week and continues to the next week. 9 AP tests are being given. 81 students are taking tests. Each test is 3.5 hours. 3 or higher usually get you college credit. Depends on the college, but from the students so far, so we've had the AP Chem test and the AP Stats test. I've talked to a bunch of them who've taken the test from them so far. Most of them expect to earn credit. So far, everyone's feeling good about it. Senior graduation meeting was Monday. Legal graduation contact and just talked through expectations and reminders for the year. The Justify Summit happened. 3 students attended. Equity Justify Summit last Friday in Sun Prairie. Completely student-led summit with many breakout sessions, and all the students who went are looking forward to bringing what they learned back to the school. The district equity meeting met earlier today. Staff and students continue to learn about it and focus on being inclusive to all people, along with giving voices to them. Band and choir concerts are this week. Choir had their concert yesterday, and even though they are much smaller this year, they are sounding a lot better. So if you haven't heard them, I would suggest listening to them next year if you have the time. BAMS has their concert tomorrow. I have heard them practicing from my psych classroom, and I'm attending the concert tomorrow, and I'm pretty excited for this. Prom and post-prom happened this past weekend. Festival of Lights was the theme. Cameron and Sydney were voted king and queen. Post-prom at the school with lots of games. Students had a chance to win money and other prizes. There were mugs and thermoses. And most of the students I talked to had a lot of fun. For co-curriculars, forensics had their state competition, and from what I heard, that went well. FBLA had the annual brewegram, and we all had a lot of fun there. Patriots Club hosted a blood drive last week, which went well from what I heard, even though track athletes couldn't donate because of the meet that day. Spring sports has been going well so far. Track and field has one more invite before conferences, and then we have regionals. We are expecting to send a couple of people to sectionals, and crossing our fingers, maybe state. Softball is currently 11-7 this year. They're second in conference with 6-1 for conference, and baseball is 14-3 this year. They're also second in their conference with 5-2. Any questions?
Mateo, can you tell us more about the district equity committee? No.
I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay.
Do you want Sean to say something?
Sure, if Sean has information.
Mr. Bartel, do you want to comment a little bit about the equity meeting? And any of the administrators could, but Sean's had more students involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, this year we started working, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We started working last summer actually with Rudy Bankston, who specializes in equity work with school districts and restorative practices. And we started last summer with staff. We've done a lot of discussions about empathy, inclusion, having an understanding of students. We talked about adultism as well before we invited students to our meeting, which we started in January. So we have a group of about 6 to 11 students that come to our equity meetings now as well. And we've talked about just a lot of focus about understanding of all people and backgrounds and how we can continue to work with all from a restorative aspect. And by that I mean how we can have an understanding of, someone's comments or someone's actions and have a conversation with people about how we can move forward appropriately with that. So we had our last session with him this school year today, and again, it was quite powerful to hear students' voices at these meetings. They shared, the 3 students shared their experience at a Justify Summit that they had last week, which was a completely student-led, I'll say professional development, with about 12 other schools in our area, and they talked about everything from inclusion of students with disabilities to having a mindset of kindness and including all people. It's a Dane County Equity Consortium puts it on, and our 3 students that attended absolutely loved it and want to continue to go and grow that program in our school of how we can include more students into these conversations. So it started with a small group of teachers. We have staff, we have students that are part of it now. I know Rudy has talked about doing some possible community connections as well in the future, and he has said that he would love to have school boards take part in any future meetings as well, if there's any members that would be interested in that work. We do meet during the school days, since that's when we have students, but over the summer there will be some flexibility obviously with that as well.
Well, Sean, this is too common, I would be interested in participating from a school board perspective in anything moving forward in the future. I think it's a place where we have opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you and anyone join our group as we continue to move forward with our work. And it was really powerful today, some of the conversations we had, and looking forward to how we can grow and just continue to get better in our high school. And I will definitely include you in any future communications and meetings.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mateo, for presenting. You did a great job on your last one. So thank you for representing the students.
Yeah, is there any other questions for Mateo or John? So Mateo, you're welcome to stay, and you're also welcome to go.
I've got a lot of work to do. I've got this AP psych test tomorrow, so I got to study for that.
Good luck.
luck. Thank you, Mateo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bartel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Bartel. Okay, it brings us to the approval of bills and vouchers in your board package. You have the treasurer's report, the superintendent listing of disbursements through April 30th, and the district receipts through the month of April. Is there any questions that have not been answered prior to the meeting that you would have for Mr. Henning or Susie? Anyone have questions?
I will so move for approval of all three items.
Okay. We have a second?
Sorry, Chad. He can have it.
I go to Chad. All right, so I've got a motion by Mr. Graves, seconded by Mr. Yurgis to approve the treasurer's reports, the superintendent listing of disbursements through April 30th, and the district receipts for the month of April. And that is a roll call vote.
Gray, yes.
Carr, yes.
Kwame, yes.
Schneider, yes.
Dolphin, yes.
Cummings, yes.
Yurgis, yes.
All right. Carries 7-0. Legislative updates. Are there any legislative updates to share? Any board members and or Mr. King? Okay. Any announcements this evening? All right, moving right along. Public input. Is there anyone who wishes to provide public input this evening? All right. We will get right into new business. Action item A, as presented in your informer packet, brings us to staff positions. We have a number of them on the docket this evening. So we have a number of resignations, looks like 6, and then a number of employment positions. Any questions regarding the staff positions that are up for approval this evening?
I'll make the motion to approve the staff positions as presented.
Okay,
Second.
all right, I've got a motion by Mr. Yurgis, seconded by Mr. Dolphin, to approve the staff positions as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 7 vote. Action item B takes us to the high school wrestling mat donation. As listed here in your informer packet, the Waterloo Youth Sports Organization, also known as the WISO, would like to donate towards a new varsity wrestling mat. It looks that they would donate $7,300 towards a new mat, which would be a competition mat, and the school's portion to cover the cost, the total cost of that wrestling competition mat would be $1,440. As laid out here, one of the older mats would then be cycled down for the YSO to also use as a practice mat during their season. It's recommended that the district partners with the YSO to complete this purchase. Is there any discussion on this item?
To me, it's a no-brainer.
Agreed.
I will move for approval.
Okay, I've got a motion by Mr. Craig, seconded by Mr. Fari, to approve the, purchase of this new mat and partnering with the WISO organization to do so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on the 7th. Brings us to action item C, early graduation. You've got within your packet, you've got a request from student Mr. recommender for early graduation. It's stated he's recommended for early graduation, he's on track and within the parameters to do so. And it's recommended that we approve this request for early graduation. Any discussion in regards to this request?
That would be for graduation. Now, this June?
No, next,
December.
December. Okay. So he would attend first semester, get the remainder of his credits, and then be done.
Okay, so he will be done in January of '25.
January.
I'm not gonna motion on that. It's related.
I move to approve Drew's request for early graduation.
Okay, we've got a motion by Ms. Kwame
Second.
and a second by Mr. Dolphin to approve the early graduation request of Mr. Drew Benninger. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, 7-0 voice vote. Brings us to action item D, the Scholarship Endowment Disbursement Committee. As listed here in your packet, the Scholarship Endowment Fund was very successful this year and has approximately collected $80,000 in funds, which is good news. So after they reviewed these funds, they've determined that we could, as a district, disperse $3,300 this year to the 2024 class. The board needs to choose how we would like to disperse said funds and how we would divide said monies. The district has had 33 students fill out applications from this year's senior class.
Yeah, and Matt, just for clarification, I think it says 32 on here, I had it wrong. Does it say 32 on your
It
stack?
does, it says 32.
32, okay.
So, it's 32 total applications. It's recommended that the board decides how it wants to disperse the funds. And it's also recommended that the board designates an endowment committee appointed annually to consider future disbursements as classes graduate.
Yeah, and I think it's important to recognize that, this has all happened very fast and it was much more successful than, any of us could have dreamed it would be in such a short amount of time. So, I think you have a decision to make this year, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do that every year. So I think you can think about, what do you do this year to kind of handle graduation that's coming up and scholarship night that's next week already. But then, be thinking big picture, how you might want that to look. And then I would just share with you that the number one question that we get from people that are considering being donors is who's going to be on the committee for doling out the funds. So, our token response has been that's in the board's hands right now, but do you want to keep it in the board's hands and then just handle it every year? Or do you want to expand and maybe make a larger committee that might include teachers or parents or community members? I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong. It's just whatever you prefer as a board to do. And again, you're the decision maker around this, so even if you decide something, I think you can always change down the road as well. So,
Duly noted.
Can
So-
I ask how the fund amount for this year was determined?
yeah, it was a little awkward this year because we had some money sitting in there longer than others and some donations that still haven't come in yet. And so we kind of looked at interest and we kind of looked at, what it would have been if it had been in there, for a whole year. And we, came to a number. The number's not a magic number, so if you wanted to change the number, you could. But just keeping in mind that, our goal was to kind of protect that principal and then disperse proceeds on a year-to-year basis. But, I think you're safe with, approximately $3,000-ish if you wanna give that out.
So as we steer the conversation, as I'm seeing it, and anyone else certainly can weigh in. So the more imminent decision is deciding how we want to disperse the funds this year, because that is coming up rather quickly. And then obviously the future items of assembling the endowment committee what that would look like, and then potentially a criteria to determine, so it's a known criteria of how much you disperse annually. If you want to work to protect that initial investment or certain fund balance, we should lay that criteria. So, but I would remind everyone, with 32 students, as we talk about how we would disperse, we wouldn't necessarily be talking about people, if you will, but more methodology of how we would like to set disperse
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, Matt does have the applications there, so if you want to get into, picking a person or something, we could do that. I would recommend you do that in closed session. The names aren't on the applications, but, if you start talking about the student council president, everybody's gonna know who you're talking about, right? The other thing that I will comment on is, and this, we found this to be very interesting, as we were working with larger donors, and we are still working with some larger donors. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised in the future how this fund's going to grow. But we did ask them, how, if they had a say in it, how they would like it dispersed, because we sort of went with two trains of thought. One was, maybe the top 3 or 4 individuals in the class, or maybe everybody that's going on to a post-secondary school. And we had donors pretty equally on both sides say, well, I think it should go to the top kids. And we had people on the other side say, well, I'd like to see everybody get something. So just know that, it's kind of up to you as a board philosophically where you want to be, but there are people on both sides of that argument. And so when you make one side happy, you make the other side upset, and vice versa. So.
Well, I think that's a decent place to start. I mean, does any board member want to say, how do you want to disperse these? Is it one person getting an award? Is it 3? Is it 10? You have a limited set of funds here, so.
If you gave it to everybody that applied right now, it would each give you $100, which isn't really a meaningful amount in today's day and age to do anything. I think in order to be meaningful, you gotta be 500 plus and preferably over 1,000. I think they have a meaningful amount for each person, but that's off the top of my head.
I don't disagree with that comment, because we disperse them over the course of their academic career, typically is how our district disperses scholarship funding, which I don't know if that's up for discussion as well.
I think it
It
is.
is, yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
but, you're giving $1,000, they're getting $250 a year, so it's.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's even.
Or you can stipulate it's a one-time award of
Yes, yes.
1,000, so.
Yeah, bookkeeping wise, it's a little nicer to have it be a one-time award, but we'll do whatever you guys say.
I think with my input is the smaller award amount, a one-time thing, I think it's just cleaner and it's out the door. As we can grow this, it'd be great to have 4-year awards, that'd be outstanding.
I don't disagree with you. There are a lot of smaller scholarships in our district that disperse on a basis.
Thoughts down here?
I like the one-time hit.
Shannon, Susan? Agree?
I like the one time and I like the bigger amount.
Like a grand or 500 or?
Yeah,
more?
I was thinking like top 3 for 1,000 or whatever it comes out to.
So,
Or you can do the top 2 and do 1,500 or however that turns out.
so if we did 3 at 1,100, we would have the opportunity to do different criteria. So for instance, we could do, 1 at the top of the class, or you could do 2 in the class, and then there's a lot of different ways to do that. You can do it through GPA, you could do your grade point average, you could do it by, which is kind of manipulatable. Then you've got, your SAT, ACT scores, which I always thought are probably the better reflection of where people are really at. And then you've got, community service or other kind of extemporaneous factors. One thing that strikes me since I've been on the board is how many kids don't go to college, but still have a serious plan and they're still gonna have serious needs for assistance. Maybe we should at least consider giving 1 or 2 to somebody in that category.
mean, I think that our top 5 students are awarded a pretty significant scholarship already in our district, so that's something for us to keep in mind as well. They
Maybe
walk
not
away with
based off of-
$12,000.
I
So
didn't know that.
it's a pretty decent scholarship that our top 5 get. So.
Where does that come from?
Junkinger.
Really? Oh, I have no idea.
No, you can hardly afford not to go to school here if you've got any scruples.
Well, if you're in top 5, for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
That's,
for our class size and the amount of money that's awarded,
that's more than your tuition.
it's huge.
Is it a one-time thing, or do they do that?
It's dispersed over their 4 years of education.
So they get $3,000 each.
They get $1,500 a semester, pretty much.
Wow.
It's a generous scholarship,
That is very generous.
yeah.
Well, maybe we should consider a whole top 5 then.
Yeah, so I've been quiet so far, but I've been inclined to go towards those probably not going on to college, the 4-year program. We have quite a few scholarships beyond the juniors that are substantial. And I'd like to somehow think that this fund could help those who may not be checking those other boxes, but are still pretty darn good kids, showing up to class, carrying their weight, not just filling out an application because this might be a freebie. And of course, I don't really know that criteria. So for me, the 3,300, I would say 600, 700 bucks a piece after the first year, whether it's 4-year or 2-year or 1-year school. And the teachers that normally do this, they kind of know the kids, they probably have their, I wouldn't want to sit in on that meeting, but they probably have their piles around the room. Some of them are GPA, some of them are specific, and some, the ones that haven't checked those boxes that are sitting in that application would be my choices. Just my little thoughts.
That changes my thoughts a little bit. I didn't know that we'd have that much available. You know, outside performing kids. Where you guys?
We're all together. This side, yours is this side.
No, I'm afraid to say too much because I have 2 seniors in this class and I know how their ranking is. I know where my kids fit in there, so I was probably gonna abstain from the vote at the end. But
Well, yeah, but.
I love the idea of, okay, we got the top 5 with the Carl Junkinger. Let's hit the next 5, 6, 7, something like that, 11, I don't, something like that. Hit the next bunch down this year, but I'm not gonna vote because I already know where certain kids fall into that ranking.
Sarah, Chad?
Really all I have to add is, I would, $1,000 for your days.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe look after the 5, the top of the 5, and see. Maybe we don't just offer GPA or ACTs or whatever that is. I don't know, maybe we look at them as a whole, community work, what they're gonna do, you know, kind of make a decision. I don't know if you can really like, I don't know, figure it out right tonight.
Is there an essay associated with their scholarship application?
There's some essay questions, but I mean, that's something you could set for a criteria going forward. You didn't do that, you know, for this meeting, but.
I'd almost like to see people on the committee that frankly aren't us. Not that we shouldn't be represented, maybe 1 or 2, but I like the idea of some members being there, especially if they're
I was just gonna see it
just
already.
Jotional working stiff type people. I just don't know
Yes.
where you find them, like how do you figure out who's a good candidate for that?
Well, I think maybe an easier decision, as I this would kind of be all over the board, because it's a tough ask, but maybe we can, come to some semblance on the number and the amount. I don't think that's as hard. If you do 3, I've heard 3 for 1,100, I've heard 11,000, or 1,100, excuse me, 1,000, it's odd. Or I've heard like 500. It seems to me that seems kind of the common theme of it's either a $1,000 award or a $500 award. So where would the board like to go on that?
I'm sticking with $500 for
One-time award?
one time.
Bill?
I would do 1,100 at 3.
I would agree with 1,100 for 3 scholarships this year.
Jeremy?
I like the $500 one, but I'm fine with the 1,100 too.
Sorry, the 3, 1,100.
Okay.
Yeah, 1,100.
Okay. So it sounds like the 1100s would have it. So we've decided we're gonna do 3 awards this year at $1,100. And now the much tougher question of that
Yeah, we
criteria.
could make that in a motion, so it's.
Sure, did you want it? I was gonna try to wrap it into one.
Sure, okay, yep.
That's why I've assembled one piece of this. So,
Mr. Henny, can I ask another point of clarification? There's another large fund from the Carl Junging Scholarship Fund that's given out, right? Separate from the top 5.
Mhm.
Can you explain that to us?
Yep, so the top 5 are 12,000. The next ones, Sean, do you remember the amount off the top of your head, or Susie, do you remember the amount?
Yeah, the 6 to 10 in this district right now off of GPA is 2,000 a year for 8,000
So
total.
8,000 for the
And
next
that's
5.
by GPA as well,
6
that
to
we
10.
give that away? Okay.
so
And
that,
then we are in discussion with their team or their scholarship committee too about, looking at including other pieces as well besides just GPA because there is some, discrepancy of students taking a variety of classes. So currently we are looking at GPA, but I would say probably in the next 2 years, there may be some other qualifications that they look at besides GPA.
so the top
Thank you, Mr.
10,
Bartel.
the top 10
Top
have,
20% of the graduating class almost, that we're giving a substantial amount of money to.
And it's gonna grow. So I don't know what you all like to do.
If you've never been to scholarship night, you should come, because it's an amazing amount of money that this district gives away to students.
I haven't been for
not disagree.
20 years, and it was amazing 20 years ago.
What is called Younging, what was his deal?
He ended up owning McKay Nursery.
I see.
So Billy McKay, who founded the nursery, was a bachelor, so he kept no place to go with his wealth, and his right-hand man was Carl Junginger,
Also a bachelor.
also a bachelor. And Carl established an ESOP, so as the funds were transferred from Jungingers to the employees, they established a Junginger Foundation. So the value of the McKay Nursery ended up into the foundation as the employees took on ownership, etc. So Carl Junginger was passed away. He didn't come into the office. He was probably 80 years old. Didn't come in. A couple of the guys drove out to the house. The driver appeared to have to take some fun dead in his chair. No health, no prolonged health problems, no simple. Yeah.
So who owns it now?
The employees,
I didn't know.
yeah, and they still disperse it every spring. It's really an amazing amount of money.
So
So,
there's the Mary Strimmer one too.
so the board of directors of the Junginger Foundation is primarily the executive management team and post-executives of McKay Nursery.
Okay.
Yeah, so Carl, he always would, very modestly, had a house on Riverside Drive right next to hundreds of other people that attend school here, maybe never, just,
On Crestview Drive. His house is
yeah,
on Crestview.
Crestfield, yeah.
Andy and I bought the house when we moved to town unknowingly.
You bought it 10 years ago? Really? Okay.
Yeah. Someday I'll think about his girls, that's the
Okay,
There is a scholarship committee, right, at school that allocates other funds. May I would propose that we put this $3,300 in the hands of that already established committee this year until we can establish our own criteria moving forward.
Yes.
Gives us some sort of ponder list.
sure. And just a clarification question, does this give that committee enough time to make that decision? Okay.
Can I put it in motion? I would move that we allocate three $1,100 scholarships this year to be dispersed by our already established district-developed scholarship committee for this year's seniors.
I second that.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor by Ms. Kwame, seconded by Mr. Farley. And she's worded it very well. Does anyone need clarification on the wording? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote.
This job is awesome, 1%, boss.
Yeah.
All right, as noted here, we're up to item E, not necessarily an action item, but it's regarding discussion of the outdoor master site plan. It's noted in your packets. Again, the Point of Beginnings will be presenting their master plan on May 14th to the district staff. I believe that is a Tuesday at 11 a.m. District staff and coaches, board members are welcome to attend, but they're going to get the first crack at it here, looking at the items before it is brought to the board. So any discussion, questions? Again, it's Tuesday, May 14th at 11 a.m. Board members are welcome to attend to get teacher and coach feedback, district employee feedback, I would say.
Is this what is the time for this? 11 a.m.
The elementary MPR.
The old gym.
So would we enter through the district office to go attend that meeting then?
Yeah, the pre-K office, yeah. Yeah, and just for clarification, so we will bring it to the board in June. We just wanted an opportunity for the coaches and the staff to see it, clean up any bugs or quirks that might not be right before it goes out for public consumption.
Any other questions on that outdoor master site plan? Hearing none, we'll move right along. It brings us to action item, or discussion item F, actually, graduation. The ceremony again is scheduled for Sunday, June 9th at 1 p.m. It's going to be moved to the field house if there's inclement weather, otherwise it's outside. And board members have, there's some that have signed up, I'm sure if you haven't yet, you still can, to hand out diplomas. But please make note, you should arrive no later than 12:30. You're going to be seated up front alongside administration during the ceremony. Questions regarding graduation? All right, moving right along. Staff recognition events. The end of the year staff recognition events is scheduled for June 7th at 8:30 a.m. in the high school cafeteria and commons area. The district will be recognizing staff for their years of service and retirements. All members of the board are welcome to attend. Staff Appreciation Week is the current week we are in, and the district has numerous items planned for staff appreciation. Any questions, discussion here?
I will comment, I do plan to be there on June 7th. Last year it was Jim Setz and myself. See what happens.
Chad was there too.
Yeah, you were kind of new to the board.
Really not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I plan on coming this year,
Yes. Good.
Friday.
Again, everyone's welcome.
Friday.
All right, we've already, I guess, scratched the Item H, with multicultural family night was held on Monday. Any idea how much turnout we had or anything, Brian?
Very, very good turnout. That continues to be a highlight of the year for many families, and can't thank Daisy Estrada enough for her work in organizing that. And she has lots of helpers, including the district office staff as well as the admin team and many others. So it's quite the event.
Good to hear. Discussion item I, redefine your ready board retreat. So Mr. Scott Carr from CISA 2, and the Redefining Ready initiative, he's planning to host a board retreat on June 26th from 3 to 6:30 p.m. Location has not yet been determined. Is there anyone who cannot attend or make this meeting on June 26th?
I believe it's good for me, and I will offer our cheese factory tasting room. And pending the fact that they don't have any other event between 3 and 6 that day. Most likely not. Yeah. We have this swankiest cheese tasting room in the country.
Just cheese or you?
Yeah, we can see what we can do. Yeah.
Is that fair to assume we get to taste cheese?
Yeah,
That's a requirement.
I'll dump that on my daughter-in-law too. So she'll-
Well, thank you, Mr. Crave.
You're welcome. I will verify that tomorrow and let the administration know.
Perfect. All right, so mark your calendars. That gets us through our agenda here. I will make a motion to move into a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent C, for the items listed for the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Okay? That is a roll call vote.
Craig, yes.
Oh, yes.
Tommy, yes.
Schneider, yes.
Dolphin, yes.
Cummings, yes.
All right, let the record show it is 7:13. We will take a brief 10-minute recess to allow tear down, and we will be in a closed session. Thank you, everyone.